Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 45, and I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man. This is a late episode for a number of reasons, mostly schoolwork, which can be easily explained, of course. But also, it's even later because, oh goodness gracious, because I got halfway through recording it, and then I noticed that Audacity had crashed. And it's not like it had just crashed, it's like it had crashed 20 minutes prior. And so, I basically said F that, gave up, decided to come back later. You know, the only thing, like, there was a bunch of terrain work which we're going to continue doing, that, you know, is now on a file somewhere that will never be used. And there was some other very basic scenery work, but there was a lot of discussion, there was so much talking, so many words, that I'm going to have to refine and restate. And I'm not exactly enthused doing that. Was that the cops? What the hell is that noise? Not sure if you guys could hear it. Anyways, the beautiful sounds of Troy, New York. Birthplace of Uncle Sam. Home of the New England Berkshire and Western Railroad. Which is a great segue into the top comment, or the first, not the top comment, because I don't think any comment got actually voted on. It just happens to be the top of the list of comments that I have. And it is by somebody by the name of Alistar or Alistair Severn. And he asks, do you have any model railway stuff? If so, you should make a video about it. Well, I'm not one to make real-life videos that often. You know, there's exactly one video on my channel of real-life stuff. I think there might be more. But there's only one I can think of. And it's the at State Line Tunnel. Or the stateline.mp4 or whatever it's called. Stateline.avi, I don't know. I think it's just called Stateline. But it is, you know, that's like the only real life video I've taken. Taken with my phone, of course, because I don't have like a real camera. I'm not that much of a foamer. No, I don't know. I never got into real, you know, filming of real things. I could do like a showy-offy video, but honestly, if you want to come see them, come visit the Providence Northern Model Railroad Club in Warwick, Rhode Island. Shameless plug. Or come visit the NEB&W within the next like 2 months, or month and a half or so. NEB&W standing for New England, Berkshire, and Western, which is, well, the fallen from grace, once amazing model railroad club here at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Fantastic club, really, but we're stuck in a basement, so it could be better. But yeah, no, I can talk about the engines and stuff that I have, which isn't much. I've got 3 steam engines and a, just including DCC stuff only and stuff that I actually use. I've got 3 steam engines and a caboose and some coaches. And a boxcar. 2 boxcars. Boxcar was actually, one of them was given by a fan, who I will talk about, which I will get into the specifics of that as soon as I go through stuff, because I'll go through things chronologically. Because I started out at the Providence Northern Model Railroad Club, a number of years ago. You know, I started going there when I was a kid, when they were in a different building, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's where I met TJ for the first time, and I kind of forgot about that, and then I met him again later. But I digress. I started being a member there a couple of years, or like when I moved to Warwick, which was maybe junior year of high school. It was when I could drive. So, junior year of high school, I moved to Warwick, and decided, hey, you know what? The Model Railroad Club is in Warwick now, because they had moved away from their Cranston location. I'm going to become a member. And so I did, and I went through their initiation process, which is like a hazing where they dump a bucket of water on you. No, I'm kidding, they don't. There's no hazing involved. It's, you know, you have to come to the club a certain amount of times in a span of, I think, like 6 months, and attend 1 business meeting and 1 work meeting, and then they'll vote on you, and they'll vote whether they think you should be in the club or not. And surprisingly enough, I got voted in. When TJ's turn came around, I didn't vote for him. Just kidding. And so they let me into the club, and I decided that, hey, you know what? I need something that's DCC now, because all the stuff that I'd owned prior was either Lionel or was just DC. And I had some HO stuff from, when I was much younger. I would just set up loops of track in my house. It was, HO stuff can get kind of expensive, buying a Switch was like $16, and that was kind of steep. So I didn't have very much. I had many more pieces of wooden railroad than I did just HO and Bachmann and whatever, because it was Bachmann Easy Track, that sort of thing, and it was just your bog standard DC controller, nothing to write home about. What it's what kids grow up with, and so I had that. And I was grateful for it, but I realized I need to have something DCC to run on the layout here. So I go down to the local model hobby shop, or the hobby shop, which is the Appanog Hobby Shop. It's a great little place. And I go look through their selection. They've got a couple of things, but really I want something that I don't have to, spend many hundreds on, because I was just, still just a kid at this point. I was like 16. Didn't really have a job, and so it was like, okay, so I've got, I've got a little bit of money to spend. I'm going to be paying for some of it. My dad's going to be paying for some of it. It's going to be like a gift to me, and it was like a birthday gift or something. And I want something Steam, preferably. I want something DCC. So I was looking around, and I came upon, behind the counter, there was this Bachmann box for a mogul, one of their DCC sound moguls, and it was B&M 1360. Now, those of you familiar with the Iron Horseman Chronicles already know who B&M 1360 is. So I got this locomotive, and was quite happy with my purchase, even though it was a little anemic thing. But, it had DCC, it had sound, it was what I wanted. And it was a New England road as well. And this was a point where I feel like, at this point I was too young to have truly developed my railroad allegiances. I didn't go looking on eBay for something Pensy or, whatever. I just had this, and I found it, and I liked it, so I bought it, and I kept it. And I used it at the Providence Northern. And I decided to name it Lee. And there was no real reason why I wanted to name it Lee. It just felt like it was a name that fit. And so, that said, I had Lee for some time. And I think what happened was, so I had Lee for some time. Didn't really buy anything else. I figured, okay, I've got this thing. I don't really have any money to spend on things. I go to model railroad shows, but I don't spend money. I've always sort of prided myself on that. And I received at one point, I received something from a fan. I opened the box. It's from this, it's from Brett Wiebold from Colorado, and he sends me a boxcar. And it's green, and it has a creeper face painted on the side of it, and it says Temeros Freight Company. And I thought that was really cool. And I ran it with Lee a couple of times, and then I just, I put it away, I put it in my drawer, in my desk, and was like, this is cool. It's the first thing that I got from a fan. And at that point, it was getting something from a fan. Now he's given me some other stuff, and it's getting stuff from a friend. It's very, it's different. It's less, it's sort of less of a, oh, how thoughtful of you for sending me this thing, a person that I hardly know. It's like a, well, here's something I thought you'd appreciate, versus I'm gonna make something for you. Like, I'm gonna send something to this stranger on the internet. But, who would have thunk for, skip forward a few years and we'd be sharing a hotel room in Pennsylvania. But, anyways, so I received this freight car. I used it a little bit. wasn't the best running thing, but it was awesome to have. And Lee, the anemic little engine he is, could pull one coach and the boxcar, and so that's kind of all I did with him. And I started to realize after, right about when I was going to go to college, or shortly thereafter, I started to realize I could probably use to get something a little bit bigger than this mogul that I've had for years. And so I went looking on eBay, and this is a point in time where we had started the Iron Horseman Chronicles. We had, our characters. We knew who, we knew who we played, who we were. We'd made some episodes, etc. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to get a T1. I'm going to get myself a Pennsylvania Railroad duplex, because I know they make them for Paragon 2, and it's going to be awesome. And so I went online and I found myself a PRR T1 5538 for about $200. It was PLI Paragon 2, and I was excited. And it was like, this is cheap. This is like a third of retail price. It was by some guy who, was modeling Western roads, but he had picked up the T1 because it was easy for him to get his hands on it at the time, and now he didn't have a need for it because he had more location-appropriate engines and stuff. So he didn't really have much use for it. He didn't, it wasn't of, like, high value to him. He just wanted to, he wanted to get rid of it. So I basically went, oh, I'm going to jump on that, and did. And so, shortly thereafter, I had a Pennsylvania Railroad T1 in my collection. And that was awesome. And it was, and is, stupidly powerful. Of course, I called it Johnson. It wasn't the right number. It wasn't even the right type exactly, because it wasn't a prototype. But it was a T1, and so it was Johnson. And so I was, and this is going to be the recurring thing, I was quite happy with that purchase. And especially due to the fact that I did not spend all that much on it. And I ended up with this incredibly powerful engine that could pull the coal drag at the Providence Northern, pretty much without breaking a sweat, which normally requires 4 good-sized diesels to do. And it had smoke, and it, all the bells and whistles that you get with Paragon. And so I had that for a while. The only issue was, not only was it pretty much a passenger-exclusive engine, I ran freight with it because I didn't care, but, and that's sort of the reason why I talk about Johnson being a general service engine in Johnson short stories, because, I was running that engine to do more than passenger service, and I feel like in Johnson's character, he might want to, he wouldn't want to limit himself. He would want to see as much as he could see. But he never left the Pennsylvania until he went to the Iron Horseman, so think about that. Anyways, well, he didn't leave the Pennsylvania officially. He did go on, like, trips and was at shows and etc., etc. I digress. The question ain't about the Iron Horseman Railroad. Keep an eye on Audacity. So then, fast forward a little while, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got a big engine, I've got a little engine. I need something in between. I need something that's a little bit more reasonable, and maybe something freight as well. So I start looking, and I'm looking for like a CN 3254. I want a Blount. Unfortunately, you can't really get your hands on one. Nobody mass produces them because they're not like a generic look at all. And the only one that I found was one that was custom made. Now, at this point, Wild, who now I've known for a number of years and I'm very good friends with, tells me, hey, if you get me a USRA Mikado and send it to me, I could probably, for a little bit of money, I could probably turn it into a Blount for you. And I went, well, that sounds awesome, because this was when, Caboose Hobbies was still as big as it was, and he could get his hands on any parts, yada yada. I was like, that's pretty cool, that would be awesome, I would love to have you do that. Let me look around real quick. And instead, I stumbled upon a Boston and Albany Pacific. And I went, oh, well, wait a minute, because this thing's almost, this thing's just barely over 200 bucks. I could go for this. I could buy this. I would have Bell in my lineup. I like that. And so I decided on that instead. And so I ended up with Bell. I ended up with B&M 501, which is also the wrong number, and also it was a USRA Pacific, not a K1E or whatever Bell actually would have been. And you know, it sort of left it at that. And that was the last purchase that I've made in, you know, a number of years. Now, I will no longer have to go back and forth between the Providence Northern and the NEBW after May, because I'll be graduating from here. Unfortunately, I'll be leaving the NEBW behind. But it means that the main limitation for me in buying model railroad stuff will be gone. It will not exist anymore, because I won't need, you know, I will not have to tote the stuff back and forth from, you know, from one end of New England to the other. And so that's a huge boon for me, and bad news for my bank account, because, you know, the main thing that keeps me from buying things is the fact that it would be impractical for me to do so. I didn't want to have to move stuff around. I didn't want to have to carry stuff back and forth, pack stuff up, take it somewhere else, unpack it. And I decided, you know, but in the meantime, you know, I had those 3 engines. We had the 20th anniversary of the Providence Northern back in 2014, and this was, you know, this was a while ago. That's when I graduated high school, so I'll wind the clock back a little bit. And so we had the 20th anniversary. We produced some club cars specifically for it. We produced some Providence Northern 20th anniversary club cars. And so I bought one. And then I ran it a little bit, and then I put it in the box. And then because they didn't want me running it at the NEB&W, because we're trying to be prototypical, and there's no such thing as the Providence Northern in real life. So I couldn't run it, so I just stuck it in its box and left it there. Now, meanwhile, the guy, one of my friends at the Providence Northern, or the NEB&W, his name is Tom, and he's been a member of the club for a long time, and he decided to give me a Bowser PRR N5, no, it wasn't an N5, it's got the porthole windows. Whatever, he decided to give me a PRR caboose, and I was really happy, and so I finally had something to run with Johnson when I ran freight with him. You know, I've been looking for God knows how long for a B&M caboose, like a real good one, but, you know, I had this PRR one fall in my lap, and I was grateful, and I was like, alright, I can use this. It doesn't have windows in it, it has all the other bits in the box that I need to attach, but I'm not really a model builder. I'm just there to run trains, like, and I feel like I should make myself more useful at these clubs by being dispatched or something, but I've never bothered to learn, or I really haven't had the time. I will thankfully be around the Providence Northern more, so it will make sense for me to learn the dispatch system, you know, more than I've already figured out on my own, just from the guy who is our dispatcher. Alright. Okay, so we're making hills. Damn it. Okay. So I'm trying to do a think. There we go. I'm trying not to make this valley too steep, and I want to be able to get across it relatively easily. But I need to fill in this area here. Weibelt also, when he visited me, gave me a set of Pennsy passenger cars, which I was very grateful for. I just wish they ran better. I need to put some work into them. But other than that, that's really the extent of what I own. That's it. I don't own that much, again, because of the limitation where I have to take it back and forth, and I don't really have a place to store it. I mean, I do have a couple of things that are just tucked away in boxes. Julia's gave me an F40PH, which is nice. Though that stays at home. And there are a couple of engines that my old robotics teacher gave me, which is cool. And I do have a decoder in one of them. They're very old models and they do not run well. You know, sort of the story of my life, I guess. Things don't run well except for the things that I buy off eBay. But, you know, the caboose rolls nicely. Guess that's a plus. Weibold also sent me these little passenger cars, which I can use with Lee, he said. And I haven't taken them to the PN. I haven't taken them to the PN yet. And they've just sat on my desk at home, and it's disappointing. And I have a couple of other disassembled things, like a couple of hoppers that are B&M. Because at one point I had an excess of cash, and you know, it's bad news for a model railroader, because I went straight to the hobby shop and bought, like, just the two B&M things that they had that I could see plainly, which were a pair of hoppers. And I was like, yeah, I'll take them. And I don't know what I was thinking, because I don't really build bottles. I know Madison wanted me to do that with her, but we never got around to it. And yeah, I don't know, that's it. In the past, I've been far more tempted to buy things for Madison than I have been to buy them for myself, because she has her C&O 377, and I would love to get her some passenger coaches or whatever to go with it. Not to mention the fact that the C&O scheme is nice. It's not, you know, it's really good looking. I'm trying to put into words. Like, it's not gaudy, it's not ugly. It's actually really sleek and really nice. Let's see, is this the area that I'm working? Yep. I'm gonna get the track over here at some point. We're not going through this tile, basically. So look at this hill. Look at this montagne. Montagne. Alright, so trying to make this work without making it too lumpy. Which is the sort of thing we have to worry about. But as for making a video with my things, I have taken a couple videos. They're on my old phone now. I'd have to extract them. Although I think a couple of them have made their way onto my computer because somebody was asking about Bell. And I don't know. I sort of preface this by saying I don't make a lot of real life videos. And that's true. Again, mostly because of a limitation in equipment and a limitation in what I actually do. You know, as much as I think it would be cool to, you know, record, you know, sort of a day at the PN, you know, it would be interesting. But I don't have like a way to get angles for that or anything. That would be something else entirely for me to put effort into. I don't have the equipment for that. At least at the NEB&W, we actually already have cameras set up so that if you are dispatching, you can look and see what's going on in different areas of the layout. Which does take away from it a little bit, but it's very useful when everything's crammed. You know, because that's, you know, we're in a basement, the aisles are very narrow. You know, it's not the kind of thing where it's really easy to maneuver when you've got a whole operating session and a whole bunch of people down there. I don't know. It's, yeah. So it can be easier with the cameras, but you know, again, it takes away from the limited information you usually have as dispatcher. At the same time, it's not like we have our things wired up to show block occupancy. We do have that at the PN. So, you know, you could say this is maybe compensating for that because you should be able to know where the trains are. But this is also the difference between 1950 and 1980. So it's, you know, important in the difference of technology. It's interesting that the 1980s club does not have that kind of tech to be able to see what's going on, whereas the 1950s club does. That looks terrible. This looks really, really bad. It's way too bumpy. It's just kind of lumpy. It's like it's not been kneaded properly. You need to knead the landscape. Not that it really matters, because, you know, it's going to be just covered in trees, as I've stated thousands of times. But, you know, best practice is to make it not look bad. Right, there. No! Oh, we seem to have created a valley. No! Bad. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. I'm critiquing my work very harshly right now. The thing with building a valley down is now that we know where the bottom's supposed to be, we need to have a consistent slope, or at least a slope period to get to it, and not like a divot that has a lip. Because that's not right. That's not good. That's not what's supposed to be there. Like this. Look at what we just made. This is terrible. This is bad. It looks bad. It would never pass. It would never happen in real life. Like, a lot of weird geological structures can be sort of explained away, saying, oh, you know, well, this rock was harder than this rock. But this doesn't make sense. It would be full of water. It would have to be full of water. And I don't want to fill it with water, so I must build it differently. How am I going to make this better? How am I going to make this better? And then, more importantly, how the hell am I going to get a train through here? I just have the, you know, the desire to keep building up and building up and building up. When I think we're pretty high, like we're high enough, aren't we? I know we definitely were when I finished that other area, which I finished on camera and then don't, you know, footage is worthless. But anyways, you know, I don't know. I feel like if I were to do a video with my real model stuff, it would be a sort of free-form, just setting up, doing operating session things, operating session-esque things at the Providence Northern, which would imply that I'd want a bunch of cameras and a bunch of microphones and you know, then have to stitch it all together and, you know, basically multicam it, like figure out, okay, what's the best angle for this right now? I don't know. It's the kind of thing, I don't have the software for that. I'm not really able to do that. But, you know, I would love to. I think it'd be cool just to grab a bunch of, you know, a bunch of people and say, okay, hey, we're going to do operating session things. Because that's what we do with the PN. We get, you know, 3 or 4 people down there and we just play around. It's, you know, one of the only clubs I know that doesn't use car cards or any other way of keeping track of the train cars, because it would be completely futile, because we have an operating session, you know, once a month, and we don't want to do that much prep for it, so we just we just sort of let everyone do what they want in the game, or let everyone do what they want in the meantime, not really keep track of it, and then when the operating session comes around, that's when we get to go out and figure out where cars are. But because we don't use car cards, and because the PN fleet is fairly loosely defined, it doesn't really matter what car is what. It's just like, okay, we need 4 boxcars, we need 2 reefers, we need 5 hoppers. It's all very loose, and I like it that way. Car card systems are very cool, but I would never be able to be in a club that exclusively deals with that, because then you can't have fun in the meantime. Then you can't just do what you want. You have to, you have to be accountable. You have to pay attention. You have to always do that. There's no option to not. This is going to be pretty impassable, isn't it? This is going to be interesting. By interesting, I mean difficult. By difficult, I mean I'm not getting a train through here. Holy cow. At least we created this valley here, so we have a way to get water out of here. This is way too lumpy. Look at this area. It's not good. Not good enough. Okay, so... Alright, I'll move on to the next question. Or statement, in this case. TBA Avenger says, "Aw, you flatter me, P less than 3 period. Only problem is, for whatever reason, my Tane is still glitchy. But it does feel so great to create a whole universe at your fingertips. I just need the time to actually really sit down and build something. Because I still can't find something that really grabs me." So I had some real solid examples of what I think should really be done in the dead recording, which I'm not even sure if they made it into the audio file. It might have died before we got there. We're 33 minutes in. We're getting to the point where in the other file I lost the audio. So, anyways, I'll talk about this. The thing is, I don't think /feel like whatever. I don't think that there's ever going to be a project in Trains that you're going to feel grabbed the whole way through. You might have a good idea. You might start. You might get going. It might feel fantastic. But in the meantime, but eventually you're going to run into a point where you feel like you can't do anymore, where you can't do anything better. And that's normal. That is not the point in the project where you say, okay, well, let's figure something else out to do. It's the point in the project where you say, alright, well, we're going to keep going anyways. Because you have this plan, you have this thing in your mind that you want to see come out. And no matter what you do, it's not going to just come out on its own. It's not going to put itself in the route just automatically without any effort, without some serious sitting down and going, well, now we're going to work on this. Now I'm going to get this thing done. And that's true for real-life model railroads as well. It's just the thing with real-life model railroads is you can't hit one button and delete it and start over again and be back where you were in a couple of hours. With model railroading in real life, everything you build is a commitment to it. Everything you build has to be good, or you're stuck with it. Because no matter what, you're going to be dealing with it for God knows how long. This down at the NBW. for example, coming out of Troy Union Station, there's a huge interlocking, set of crossovers. It's this, this double this double crossover where you've got 6 tracks feeding into it on one side, down to a 2-track main line, double crossover, and then it splits out into 3 tracks, and then one of those tracks opens up into another 2 again. So it's a lot. There's a lot going on down there. And it has these extremely intricate crossovers and, switches and frogs and whatever. And it was all laid by hand. And the thing about it is very, very imperfect. It's very janky. It's very old at this point. It's, on the order of 3 decades old. And it has a tendency to come apart. And because, I don't do very much at model railroad clubs, as I already established. I may be the president of the NBW, but it's not a position I volunteered for. It's the kind of thing where, just in order to be something, in order to do something, I am the caretaker of the crossover. And, the person who made it, God knows they probably haven't been in the college, for decades. They probably haven't visited in God knows how long. I doubt they're part of our operating sessions, because it's just been that many years. And the thing is, it's so complicated and intricate, and I'm more than just the head of that, because I'm usually the one that's tearing apart tortoises. I do this work. I found something for myself to do, but it's, the double crossover there is not at all like what it was in real life. And it's one of the biggest, that just isn't real, of our layout. And that's okay. But it's just like when they planned that, when they decided to do that, it's like, well, we're going to be stuck with this now. We're not going to tear it out and replace it with something that's simpler. It's, it wouldn't make sense to. We have this very cool thing. It's just a maintenance nightmare. And, that does not really at all apply in trains. If you made something like that in trains, not only would it not be a maintenance nightmare, because it just wouldn't matter, unless you accidentally delete the interlocking tower, cough cough. Not only would it not be a maintenance nightmare because there is no maintenance to be had, you wouldn't be stuck with it either. All you would have to do is delete the pieces of track, and boom, you'd be done. You'd be all set. You can start working on, whatever you're going to replace it with. And that's something that doesn't happen in the model sphere, and it's something that happens very, very often in trains, and even on a grander scale where you don't like the route and you just trash it, and you try to come up with something else, which will often result in coming up with nothing else, and then just letting trains stagnate and not doing much work at all, not building a route. Because you were discouraged, because you discouraged yourself. And I feel like that's an issue. I feel like it's fundamental for building of good and good-sized things in trains to know that you're going to have to push through, you're going to have to persevere, you're going to have to work when you don't feel like it. Because then because if you don't, it will never open up the opportunities to find a little place in your map that does grab you. The whole map will not grab you. Little bits may, and little bits probably will. And my examples of this are the Olive Branch for a bad example, and Ashbury Corner for a really good example. So, to start off with, the Olive Branch was something that I'd had in the back of my mind since I named the town Olive. And it was sort of well, you know what? I'm going to build a little branch line. It's going to be cool. It's going to be adorable. It's going to be really fun to operate. It's going to be really intricate. And it's not going to be very long. It's going to be a few miles into the woods. That's going to be it. And I nailed that. Except for one thing. I don't find it fun to operate. So I did all the work to get the Olive Branch there. And it came out to be something that I didn't really enjoy. Like, I've worked on it a little bit. I've done some, I've done some switching and stuff, especially to make sure that it worked right. But it's not my favorite thing. It's not, it's not really a scenery masterpiece. It's not really a operational masterpiece. It's a little bit intricate. There's some things in there that I spent a very high amount of time on. But all things considered, it's not that good. At least for me. And that's okay. Because not every place in your route will grab you. Moreover, I could throw in another example there, because that's a grab in an operational sense. Not every area in your route will grab you in a building sense. I'm having an okay time doing these mountains. I did not have an okay time building Olive. Olive was boring. I had to do block after block of houses that were pretty much identical, just varying it up enough to look like a real place and not something where I'd copy and paste it. Copy my homework, but just make it look like you didn't. And it came out looking good. I love the way Olive looks. I love the fact that we've got this big town to look over, and pan around in and whatever. I don't spend that much time looking at it because, honestly, it reminds me of the pain that I went through to build it. But I think without it, the map would be so much less, because Tollbrand is all about finding reality in this sim and doing things as right as they can be. And honestly, it's exciting. It's the kind of thing where I look at that and I go, I built that. I built Olive. And I was crazy at the time for doing it, but now that it's done, I'm glad. I think I'm better for it. I think the route is much better for it. I think that if I hadn't put that effort in, Tollbrand on the whole would be lesser. And it goes to show that, it's also sort of a proving, like, yeah, I'm here to go the distance. I can build Olive. If I can build Olive, I'll be able to build the rest of this, at least until we get to Gilson City. Because everything from here to Gilson City is smaller. There are only a handful of towns on the map larger than Olive. Like I've said, Olive is pretty middle of the road. All of the towns in the mountains are much smaller. Summit, tiny. Skyline, pretty small. What else? Those are the two towns in the mountains. Tombstone, pretty small. But, moving on, like Zion's pretty big. Zion's a steel mill town. We've got plenty to build there. We're gonna have a lot of industry, whatever. And it's a town that sort of, it doesn't really have suburbs. It has a lot of company houses, but that being said, it's only kind of old. It doesn't have a lot of really old industry in it. It sort of came about as a steel mill and not much else. Wambach. Wambach's a pretty good sized town. Wambach is more of a New England town than I might even like to admit. It is the Rumford and Brunswick and all of these main New Hampshire, Vermont towns rolled together. It's built around these old mills. It's on the ocean side. It's and New Hampshire and Vermont don't really have ocean side, but you get what I mean. Northern Massachusetts ocean side, like Salem. Although I'm not sure how Salem did for industry. But it's this kind of thing where we've got this ocean side. We're gonna play with it. It's a Providence. It's a Fall River maybe. But combine that with the industries that you'd see up in Maine, all the paperworking, all that kind of thing. It's and that's what it is. And it's a good sized town. It's not a small town at all. It's spread out. It's mixed in with the forest. It's I'll probably put like a nice college campus in there too. Again, modeling it after Brunswick, for example. But other than that, it's that's what it is. It's It's a big town. It's got old industry. And then, of course, Gilson City is real. Check it out. But, to go back to the original point here, this is, I'm going to have to slog through some pretty big city projects. I know I will. I set myself up to do that. And I think I'm going to be okay. I think that by putting a little bit of pressure on myself, by not letting myself back down, by not letting myself quit, I think I can do it. And more importantly, by taking things one piece at a time. Or one chunk at a time, you might say. Because this I'm building here is not a piece. This is a chunk. Maybe Olive was a piece. But Olive was almost definitely a chunk as well. There will be countless chunks to build. But, and when automation starts working again, then we're going to be in a whole other ball game too. But that's all stuff that I'm probably going to have to do off camera. But because of the fact that I push myself, because of the fact that I know that I'll have to, I'm more prepared for it, and because of the fact that I push myself, I get more. And when I get more, I get things that do grab me. The things that I don't have to push myself onto. The things that, when I wrap up, filming, and I go to process the footage, I don't do it right away. I stay in here and I continue working, and I continue, building mountains or laying down track or placing houses or industries or whatever. Or trees, for that matter. The kind of thing that I am prepared to do, the kind of thing that I am good at, the kind of thing that grabs me sometimes. And you don't really know what's going to grab you. You don't really know what's going to pull your attention like that. Because we're playing with something that's so intricate, something that's so detailed. We've got a lot. We've got so many options. Alright, so we've got this area done. What is the height of... Alright, I'm thinking. Nope. Right there. Okay, there we go. But the real thing I'm trying to get out of here, the thing that I'm trying to get to, is my good example. And it's one of my favorite things so far in this map. And it happens to be just down the way along this right-of-way here. And that is Ashbury Corner, believe it or not. I love Ashbury Corner, and it did not exist until I happened to want to build it. It's the kind of thing where I didn't plan for it to be there. I didn't even think of building something out there. I just was digging around, and I happened to accidentally create a flat area. And I went, oh, maybe I could put something here. And then it happened. Then suddenly I'm staying up late at night, putting this together, putting this world, putting this little piece into the world that, arguably, definitely needs to exist. Oh god, I would love to come up this way and around. I think we created it just for this, but I'd have to add so many more tiles. Maybe I'm okay with that. But god, that's so high. It takes us up really high. Yeah, how the hell am I gonna get over this? That's over 100 meters high. You know what? I could make like there was a previous way to do that, and then they blasted a tunnel through here. But it's like, okay, how? This is not as big of a bridge as the other one, but what if I went around here and then down and then through here? Nope. Show me the gradients. Oh hey, infinite power. I love this. You know what? I actually like this idea. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the thing there. I didn't realize the Fat Rat was not copyrighted. Especially considering it's used by Rocket League. But maybe that's why it's used by Rocket League. Alright, so... infinite power. Alright, we'll have to build something that actually makes sense for this. Alright, so how about this way? You know, but it's the kind of thing where you've got to trust it. You've got to trust that your desire to build will come. You know, it's sort of like the build it and they will come, except you are the guy building it. And you are also the guy that's coming to build it. So it's a little from column A, a little from column B. It is, you know, here is your landscape, here is your universe. You need to make it though. You know, it's all there before you, and some of it you'll have to tell yourself to do, and some of it will tell you to do. But there will never be a route, possibly ever, that builds itself. That no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, it just, you know, it coerces you into spending your time there. It may at the beginning, but for the whole time, I don't think so. For the whole time, I don't foresee it. And I don't think I've heard of anyone that has happened to, you know, have that, that sort of luck. Nobody's had a route that's begged them to build it. Oh wait, no, I want that to be not straightened. I want this to be straightened, I want this to be straightened. Oh, there's another really tight curve, isn't it? That's it, that's one, isn't it? That is really tight. That's about as tight as the kink. And it's much, you know... it's much more of a turn than the kink. Okay, the question is, how am I gonna get down to here? If this is gonna be our level for getting into the tunnel, what level are we at? 66. That's actually not that bad. The thing is, our bridge also has to be at 66. Like, both ends of it. So... or, you know, mostly, more or less. And so in order for us to do that, the bridge has to end like there. First of all, that's a hell of a bridge. Second of all, that's the side of a mountain. I don't want to be too sharp with our turn at this end. So what I can do is I can actually pull this out to like over here. And even do that. The thing is, we need to keep an eye on the fact that we're at this level. And I probably want the minimap. Okay, well let's talk about another thing. But in a general sense, my response to the sort of predicament of not being grabbed is that you're not putting yourself out there enough to get grabbed. I feel like if you spend enough time, you will get grabbed. You will find areas that you like, even if you didn't plan for them to ever exist. Not areas to be grabbed in general, just that specific area. Like if you don't think that there's going to be... Oh. If you don't think that there's going to be a point in time where you're grabbed by something, you're probably wrong. I would argue that you're wrong, especially if you have a concept that you like. Anyways. Next question, next comment. Bonnie Gaming. Oh, this is quite a few things. First, do you have any tips on making a good-looking route? Holy crap, that's, like, go back and watch the entire series again. Second, kind of going off the fact that you used to watch Thomas and Friends, who was your favorite character? Not James. Third, do you plan on having a subway system in Gilson City? That'd be really cool. I think it'd be not worth the effort. I do want to have elevateds, though. Fourth, when are you going to update the route on the DLS? When this chunk is done. Fifth, when do you plan on expanding the GERR? Also when this chunk is done. So I will come back around to this, because this is a whopper of a question. I can give some basic pointers on, like, okay, what to do to make a route look really good. But, that's a monster question. Most of that can be answered pretty simply, like I just did. Of course, not James is not really an answer, but F James, seriously. Why do I not like James? Because he's a prick. That's why. Let's try to make this turn as wide as possible. Favorite character? I don't know. It's been such a long time. It may have been Toby, but it was probably Thomas, because I was that age. Thomas, the baller, the straight up G. The real G, Thomas the tank engine. How could you say no to that? No, but for real, it was probably Toby. I liked Toby a lot. Which is probably why I hated Toby and the Dam so much. Because I didn't want to see my favorite character dead. This is going to be an ultra deep cut no matter how you slice it. And by it, I mean the mountain. Kind of nice when you see how your ruling grid will affect things. That does not look good. Like, let me just check this real quick just to see how deep that cut is and how deep that embankment is. Not bad, actually. I would use that if the turns didn't actually look so weird or so bizarrely sharp. I don't need the map. Gonna be honest, I really don't. So I'm gonna play around with this some more because we're on the right track to getting this good. Getting good. But let me go back. So, Alistar Severin also said another 3 comments. Toby and the Dam is so memorable. As soon as you said the name, I had flashbacks. Yeah, don't worry, I have PTSD from that episode too, as was explained. I'm sure that's not what you mean by flashbacks, but oh god, yeah. I would, I'm sure I could watch it now. I'm sure I'm better these days, but back as a very small train man, Toby and the Dam was a terrifying experience, and one I would, one at that age that I specifically avoided repeating. I was, and I'm never, I'm not into doing stuff or watching stuff that's specifically designed to scare me. I don't watch horror movies. I don't play, Amnesia. I have Slender, and I've installed it, but I've never touched it. I've never wanted to. I'm not a coward. I've just never been tested. I'd like to think that if I was, it would pass. And if anybody can guess that lyric, or who it's by or where it's from, total props, mad props. Because even I forgot the band that produced the song, and in fact, I get the name of the song wrong all the time. But it very much holds true, because it's I'm not one to get scared often. I just don't like to go and deal with things that could potentially scare me. I can deal with things that are scary. I don't want to deal with them if I can avoid them. I don't want to have to. This we're definitely going to need a bridge for. I see. What is the next? The next line there is actually pretty good. I see the tested, and I think before the grace go I might be a coward. I'm afraid of what I might find out. So it's the idea that and I'm not sure those last lines apply to me, because like I said, I've done some pretty spooky things. I do urban exploring a lot, and so you're in abandoned places. You might run into somebody. It's it's a little bit nerve-wracking. And I've never been oh, it's time to leave. But at the same time, it's definitely never yeah, let's go and get scared, guys. I want to get scared today. That ain't me, man. I'm just in it for looking around. I'm in it for the cool stuff you get to see. I'm not in it to be spooked. Is this oh, it is. Alright, how does this look? This looks a little bit too steep. Let's see if I can get this down a little bit farther, because that's a little bit high. So let's, instead of doing 2.0, why not make the grade here 1.5? Where am I for time? Well, I haven't crashed yet. That's a good thing. So I was talking about being scared. I was trying to address this comment by Alistair. Hold on, let's continue with this. There we go, we got a relatively flat point. Now, well, the negatives and positives have to do with the direction of the track too, so a negative on one section might be a positive on the other, so don't just go by that when you're route building. Trust what you've clicked, not necessarily always what the map says. I think this is okay for a turn, although something about it seems off. Something about it seems very, very off, and I can't put my finger on what. All things considered, we were able to make a fairly cutless and embankless line from one end to the other, although we are going down pretty heavily here. And I will build the former line, which would go this way, although I want to do it without leaving gradient on. But it would have gone up and around. I didn't want to end up going back down, but I guess that's just what our option is. I'm going to use this kind of tunnel again. Oh, that's right. We've got to go over and do that. Let's answer another question real quick. You should do a one-off video where you go back and play around in 06. It would be a laugh and would be very reminiscent. I wish, but the thing about doing that is that I would need to make 06 work again. Like, the reason that I left the, you know, those respective versions of trains is because they pretty much ceased to function properly. They weren't... It wasn't necessarily because I wanted to move on, it was because I had to. So, I don't know, I don't really feel like putting the effort to make that video happen. It would be a cool, simple little video, though. Nice to just remember how things was, but... or how things were. But at the same time, I don't really know, because... things have changed so much, not that I'd want to avoid that, but things have changed so much to the point where, hold on, I need to get this in place. We've got a gradient in the tunnel there. And still slightly above the... See if we can curve it this way. Make an embankment with a culvert or something. I'm gonna do something for fun. There we go, we got it. Nailed it. This is what we want. We're building the track just like this. Alright, so I'm going to continue out this side and just work on the track again later. Yeah, I don't know. That's an idea. It's a thought. If I run out of ideas and I want to do a special, I would consider going back to 06. It'd be fun. Alright, we're definitely going to have to make another tunnel straight through here. And we need to start gaining elevation again. Let's see, what is the height of this? That should be a hell of a lot lower. Yeah, it is. It's 53. Oh no. Over here, this is behind Adams. I need to build up a hillside over here. Because I don't want to see that that hill edge. Is this behind Adams? Is this Adams? This isn't Adams. This is just another flat area. Adams is over here. Huh. Okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about disturbing it then. But yeah, I don't mean to shoot it down. It'd just be a lot of effort. I'm not sure what I'd get out of it. You can nostalgia foam by just going back to the old episodes. I started Tamarill's Vale and Anaconda in 06, and I don't think... Did I ever actually move it to 12? Because I'm not sure that I did, because I thought I just started working on the Iron Horseman route in 12. Or in... Yeah, no, I worked on the Iron Horseman route all the way through 12. I don't really remember. Thank God for this. Thank God for this bumpy hill. Whoops. Look at this face. It's the face on Mars. Oh wait, where'd it go? Crap, I lost, like, 2 eyes and a mouth. Yeah. Keep an eye on all of our software, make sure nothing's crashed. Well, let's see. If I want to get the track up to like 70 or so, let's see where that is. Or actually, we can do it this way. Well, we're at 74 right now. If we stay at mostly this level, like, let me see if I can make it level and make it work. Although I can't, like, set this to be level. How about, like, 0.01? Okay, I see that that's an issue now. I see that that is difficult. Well, what is this height? Wait, why is this like this? Why are you like this? Why does it go up so much? Hold on. How about like 0.5%? Or no, 0.5, that's still a lot, isn't it? Yeah, it kind of is. We'll build that later. Maybe we'll put like... No, we're about to run into... Oh, thank goodness, we just barely didn't go into, like, this tile. If I could, I would put a little industry up there somewhere. I'm not sure what the hell I would put there, but, you know, something. Alright. Pretty much the same like the track, it should just work either way, right? Yeah, it does. Okay. Oh man, this is gonna be interesting to build. Or well, to texture, I should say. I need to get to over there somehow. Alright, let's straighten this out. Wink. Alright, actually, we've got one more comment, don't we? Then I can go back to Bonnie's comment. Alistair Severn. In Britain, there was a train movie called The Titfield Thunderbolt. Heh. Would definitely recommend it if you can find it somewhere. Oh, that's interesting. I think I've actually heard of that. I swear I must have heard Weibold talking about it or something. Like, that is one of the quintessential British train movies or something. Something of that sort. I wish I could remember now. But... you know, I've heard of it. I'm fairly certain I have. That's interesting that you mentioned that, because, you know, maybe one day I will have to see it. There's another culvert necessity right there. There we go. Culvert. Okay, so we need to place down a track mark, or not a track mark, a spline point, like right there. All right, this was the section that became unstraightened. Put this here. Get rid of this track section. Done. Grab our tunnel. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go over to Olive right now. We don't need that. Alright, so put one end here. Put the other end over here. Okay. Oh, crap. I don't know how this is going to be possible, actually. Gonna have to do some interesting stuff at the top of that tunnel to get it to line up right. Same thing with this, but perhaps less so. Grab that, attach it. We will need a dig hole at each end. Dig hole. Wow. There happens to be a hovering X. Okay, so attach that like so, and the fact that it is slightly crooked is okay. Okay, this is slid off to one side of the embankment, but that's mostly okay. We just need to figure out a way to make this like work with the terrain. I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to use a very small plateau tool with moderate sensitivity to do this and lower the corners into the tunnel. Yeah, like so. And then lower this so you can't see it. Titfield Thunderbolt. What is it about? And also, how did, like, British names end up being like that? Alright. Sensitivity down. Radius way down. No. Okay. All of it way down. I literally just ran my mouse out of the bottom of my screen doing that. Maybe I do need a little bit more sensitivity. I could add, you know, something to, hello? Oh, no, I can't do that. Damn. I could add something to make it so that whatchamacallit, so that these corners are covered a little bit, like you know, like we did in Olive with the thingies, with the walls. Come on. Alright, so that end is shored up mostly. Doesn't look that bad. This end time. Has anybody missed the tunnel entrances that were just like, this is just a massive thing and it had its own self-contained dig hole and whatever? No? Okay. I guess I didn't think so. Okay, so we've got our tunnel. We've got the second tunnel on the entire map. And it only exists because I didn't feel like adding more tiles, because we totally could have gone around. And now we can go so much farther past RJ Canyon. Like, holy crap, we're almost at the point where we're going to break away from the main map. So, let's go back to Bonnie Gaming's comment. I feel like I asked... Or, I feel like the last 3 bits, the subway system, no, I want elevateds, though. And trolleys, and suburban, like, transit, that sort of thing, like commuter lines, but not subways. Subways, too much effort for what you're getting out of it, because you don't see them at all. And then, I'm going to update the route in the DLS when this section is done, when this chunk is done, and by this chunk, I mean everything that I have tiles for. And yeah, it's going to be a while, but that's okay. You guys will have to wait. But everything up to, like, the edge of this is going to be, is going to be unfinished. Although I might add another strip of tiles, like over here, where I know I'm not going to be attaching anything new. Because, like you can see, I added some extra tiles here a couple of episodes ago, just to give me more to play with. And yeah, that means we do have to do the terrain for this, but honestly, all things considered, there's not a lot of terrain left, and then most of the stuff left is trees and grass. And yeah, it's a lot of trees and grass, but it's fairly simple. We won't have to think too hard about it. And that's the real time killer, is when you're spending time sitting there going, oh, should this building go here or here? We have most of the buildings we're going to need down. Let me build this other way around, just so that I can have a non-graded right-of-way that's here. Or, a graded right-of-way. Not a non-graded right-of-way, but a graded right-of-way. It's just not going to have track on it. If you want to throw down track on it, by all means, go ahead. I feel like this is something else. I accidentally made something that looked pretty good. This is 65. Let's keep that at 65. We do have to get over this, though, so we have to get pretty high. So the goal would be to cross the river as quickly as possible, and then start getting higher. So maybe what I'm doing here is not actually the smartest thing. So let's pull this back, and then we're going to want to start getting elevation. Although, again, we don't really want to cross the river that high. We want to cross the river and then get high. The issue is crossing the river on a straight section. That's something that's the difficult part. Now, this comes from a point in time where the VMR was pretty cheap, so... Let's just say 1% for now. Yep, and that's gonna look bad. That's okay, though. We'll have to use the techniques that we explored just a minute ago on the other side of the thing. Okay. The other thing was, kind of going off times, friends. Who's your favorite? Yeah, okay, I covered that one. It's Toby. I'm just gonna say it. It was probably Toby. I would have to go back and watch. Although, as a kid watching Thomas and the Magic Railroad, Lady was bae. I loved Lady. Let's see. Is that right? Yes. If it's higher than that, it's okay. Also, this bridge is not going to be here anymore. Oh, let's just make it a gigantic trestle. And then do that. Wait a minute, if I reattach it to that, right? Oh wait, I can't. I can't because that's too high. There would have never been a switch here anyway, so... Oh wait, no. Just get rid of that. There. Here, we'll just do that, and then we'll remove the gradient on it. And we'll just run it into... Oh, no, wait, don't do that. Just do it like this. Let's, you know, do it like that. And make sure that it's never actually switched that way, ever. Okay, so we're going to continue going up the hill now. And we're actually going to increase the gradient. Because this is not enough. We're not getting there nearly fast enough. Actually, okay, that wouldn't have even helped, because we would have just had a much smaller tunnel. But you know what? That's a benefit, though. Having a smaller tunnel, or making a larger tunnel to circumvent this hill. That is not a smaller tunnel. That is a much larger tunnel. This is a much larger tunnel. Well, I guess we couldn't have done that. The more you know. I thought we could do that. I was wrong. I was mistaken. I didn't realize that would come out all the way over here. Like, damn. That's a long tunnel. Like, it's longer than the one that we currently made. So there would have been no sense to build in this direction. At all. Like, unless you could get up this way somewhere and then loop back around. I don't think it was going to happen ever. Unless you were to climb over these hills and then cross this on a much higher bridge. But either way, I don't think it was going to happen. So, let's undo this and pretend it didn't happen. Let's just, sometimes you find out stuff just doesn't work. Get rid of all this. Go back to this. And get rid of it. And get rid of this junction lever too. No. Combine junction lever. There we go. And I'm going to widen this turn just a little bit. Because I feel like it deserves it. Alright. Okay, so it wants to be tighter, but that's not really okay. So we're gonna leave it like that. That's gonna be the way it is. The thing that really wants to happen is the game wants me to push this over here and get rid of this, get rid of this spline point, straighten that out. That's what wants to happen, because this turn was there was too long of a spline point. Let me check. It's running. Alright, we've still got a half an hour until we get to whatever. Okay, so we need the tall trestle kit or something like that. We need maybe the NARM. What are they called? No, it's the. No, it's not NARM. I'm thinking the NARM is the ones who made the FEFs. I'm thinking of the. No, it's not these YR bridges, although they could be cool. What is this? Pratt truss. Holy crap. Interesting. Whipple truss. Oh, this is a narrow gauge bridge. WL tunnel. WL tunnel 1T. Is this just tunnel track? Yeah, it's just tunnel track. It's also really short. Holy crap, there's like no clearance in that thing. Okay, what are the names of these bridges? Although we could always do these trestle kits, because I don't think that would be bad. No. Undo that. Get rid of the trestle kit. There we go. The trestle kit, like the high ones. Oh hey. Tracks with embankments. What about RRTK? That's what they are. This is 2-track, isn't it? Oh yeah, they all are. They say that. Castleton. Warren A, 200 foot. Warren truss. Underslung truss. You know, I might actually want to do that. Yeah, sure, let's not. Or why not? Let's do this. So... plenty of underside clearance, except for on this side. That's not great. Yeah, I changed my mind. I do want to do RTK stuff, though. We've only got a handful of these. We've got these Warren trusses, which are relatively stubby. I think we could get away with the 3. The question is, are the pillars tall enough? Because if they're not, then we can't do this. So let me look at RTK. Through truss abutment, through truss pier. Oh. Ooh. You know what? I think they are. So I can't see under it. Is it like just barely? Because that looks like it is. It is a just barely kind of situation. Interesting. But this one's going to be too high. Ah, damn. So I can't do this. I can't do these guys. Can't use the RRTK bridges. They are not long enough. The stubby versions. Okay, so let me see. What can I do then? How about a tall trestle kit? Although these guys are sometimes screwy. How does this look? And is it tall enough? It is tall enough. So, you know what? I think this is passable. I think we'll use this then. With this underslung trestle kit thing. With these gigantic, tall pillars. Alright, so what can I say about... what's the exact wording? Because I could talk about this all day. Do you have any tips on making a good-looking route? Now, I have talked a lot. And a lot of... did the music just go out? Oh, yeah, music's out. Well, game's like, game's done with us today. Or, you know, the computer's like, nah, we're done with you today. Let me see. You know what? I want the trestle kit ends, too. So let's move this out slightly, like there. So tips for making a good-looking route. You can make a good-looking route, quote-unquote, in so many ways. It's not, it's not something where there's a right or wrong answer with the way that you build your routes. Although that doesn't mean I can't judge them. I mean, the first tip, and I will just give mostly general tips right now, because I don't know what else I could possibly do. It's such an enormous, like, thing to talk about, to say. Because it's complicated. There are a million facets that go into a good route, and I don't know, how come you won't connect? There are a million facets that go into what makes a good route, and the fact of the matter is there's no perfect formula. There's no best answer as to what you can do to make your route good. And so okay, it worked. So the number one tip that I can give, that's just a general tip, is go outside. Not like give up on traveling. Go outside, you scrub. Don't sit in your parents' basement all day, loser. What I mean by that is take notes of what you see in real life. Because if you're building a route, especially one that goes through a lot of natural scenery, you're going to want to know what that natural scenery really consists of. What's there? What is it? What are all the little facets, all the little things that you need to hang on to? And it's surprising the amount of stuff, and I've said this a number of times, but it has surprised me. It has surprised me the amount of times that I've gone and I've seen something when I'm driving and gone, if I saw that in trains on somebody's route, I would probably mark them off for it because it doesn't look realistic. And it's absolutely true. There are things in real life that, you can look at and go, well, okay, but, the fact of the matter is they don't look real almost. They don't look that realistic. It's just, I don't know. But you need to go out there, you need to take notes, you need to, maybe not with a notebook take notes, but at least take mental notes, thinking like, okay, let me see here. What does this area really look like? What does this area really tell me? Other tips for making a good route. Not what does this area really tell me, but, how does it connect everything else? You may notice that some transitions in real life are pretty abrupt. Suddenly it goes from forest to suburbia in block. You cross a street and you're there. And it's like, whoa, how did we get here? How did this happen? And it's bizarre, but it's just the way it works. Alright, so we've got our bridge there. Excuse me.
Can you hear my voice? Coming through the noise.
Yeah, it's very obvious that I built the railroad from this side, not the other side. So then you go down this 1.5%. It's almost like you need a helper to get the other direction too. Which is fine. Makes sense. You just need a lot of horsepower. And then this direction we're back on. Well, we're going up 0.5%, so that's relatively insignificant. The other thing is, so taking from the real life thing, because it took me a long time to realize some of these things. Keep your curves wide. If you think your curve is wide enough, make it wider. Because you don't want to be, like, here. I'm testing this with a passive train. You'll see how tight this curve really is when it's relatively small. But it's a very tight curve. It is not the kind of thing where you want to take it easy around. And now, you can tailor make your speed limits so that they know you're going around a sharp curve. You don't have to, because trains doesn't care all that much. But, that would be the above and beyond. The good route would be to make curves that aren't too tight. So they're not, too janky, so they're not too awkward. And these are too tight curves. And we don't really have an option because we're coming off of this trestle that otherwise would just run into a hillside here and run straight through this hillside. Which I probably could get away with, but then I would have more gradient to worry about. It's the kind of thing where if you're a relatively cheap railroad, you're going to build things this way, and then you're going to be slower. If you're, a railroad spending more money, you're going to go straight through here. The Gilson Eastern would go straight through here. The Volger Mountains is doing this and limiting their speed with tight turns, and whatever. And that's something I feel like it's a little bit more advanced when you really get into route building. Okay, what are we gonna do? Let me go over to the interlocking tower now that we have 20 minutes left. What are we gonna do to get through here? It's well, how much money do we want to spend? And then that'll dictate your speed for later. But, that's the kind of thing where I don't think that necessarily... Now, I've talked about what makes a good route for me. I don't think that's necessarily mandatory when it comes to making a good route overall. I feel like a good route is one that runs well. A good route is one that functions well. If you're worried about making a good route, whether or not you're worried about making a beautiful route or a consistent route, you want to make a route that runs well, and so you want to do things like have functioning interlocking towers. You want to do things like having your switches not be too tight or too close together. There are a few rules of trains, for example having a straight section before a switch, or going straight curve. By far the biggest problem, by far the biggest, hold on. OSI 2 south. Oh. Yep. Okay, so... And we can see that is that, and so this is going to be called... I don't know, is this... How was the other one set? So this is going to be... SB Express through... Sorry, I'm now going to get involved in this. I'm not really going to be able to properly answer this question. But the crux of a good route is good track work. The going outside and looking around is important it's important twofold. It is important because it will show you the scenery that you need to aspire to be like. And that's about the little things. It's about the trees, about the grass not all being the same color, about the different kinds of grasses intermingling and not being uniform in straight lines. It's about remembering to put up the poles and remembering to put up the grass, remembering to put dirt in little areas that wouldn't grow grass. It is, okay, express northbound, express southbound. Okay, so these are all automatic. They will always be automatic, I guess. Yeah. Okay, let's go back. So, but yeah, the way that's set up is pretty simple. It's, express through, express, express southbound, express northbound. I think. God damn it, I already forgot. I need to write down, like, because I'm trying to standardize all the interlocking towers. And it starts, you know, it's one tower at a time you've really got to pay attention to. So where is it? It's going to be right over here. Okay, so it's going to look like... Wait for it. But yeah, like I said, it's, you know, it shows you the scenery you're aspiring to build and all the little things that you need to pay attention to if you want to make a very beautiful route. Uh-oh. What's wrong with these guys? Uh-oh. Why is this an issue? What is this? Local southbound to yard entrance. Oh, because there's a... Okay, no, so it should end at... It should end here. Yes. And I put that signal there specifically because I needed... Oh. I needed you to be able to use the runaround as well. What's the one that I edited? There's one other one that's red. And here. Alright, so... Is it Southbound Express? Oh no, it's Express, Express, Local, Local. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay. And if I wanted to do more, I could do more. Anyways, I digress. I need to work on this, I need to do this, and we've only got 10 minutes to do it, so I just want to do, like, example ones, and then I'll work on the other ones later. So, we've got this one. This is going to be Express Southbound, because it's the southbound track, it goes straight through. And so show all tower paths, and it goes, you know, southbound Express, it goes straight. Add. So the other thing we need OSI 2... Or no, we know OSI 1 northbound, because this is track 1 right here, and that's the northbound. So this is the northbound signal. That's the one. It's going to go straight. It goes to OSI 1 southbound, as it can be seen right here. There. Okay, so assignment state automatic. Oh, you know what? We're going to want to set this to automatic. And then this is going to be Express NB. The reason it has to be set to automatic, the reason that's important, is because then it will use whatever designation the signal is designed to set up for. So, you know. Which it does not have as many options as, say, the super signals do. So the super signals can give you much more detailed information. But yeah, like I said, and like I've said a bunch of times, good track work is the crux of a good route. It's the most important thing, I would say. And so you need to go out, when you go out, you need to go out and look. And, hold on. Northbound 3, this is a northbound track. You go out and look, and you gotta see, and you can look at this on Google Maps. You know, what is it? You know, what is it that defines how these tracks are set up? How are the tracks set up? How do they really look? And why? You know, and you got to think, okay, why is it done like that? And I can't, you know, I can't go over like every little thing, you know, why everything is every which way. But I don't know. The other thing is you have to think about operations. If you want somebody to enjoy your route, if you want to have a route that works well, you need to think about, okay, what is the draw to run here? And it might be the scenery. You can have a very, very beautiful route. And that's, you know, that's perfectly viable. That works. But the fact of the matter is, people are probably going to be drawn to your route because it's, you know, it's fun to operate on. You can, it's enjoyable to operate on, and that I think is maybe more important. Hold on. So I'm going to need to add all the miscellaneous ones now. The express to local are going to be next. So. Oh, no, sorry. OSI, no. So if I do the OSI 1 northbound, because odd is northbound, right? Yes. If we're going into the local track for this area, not the first one, the second one is going to be thrown the other way. Boom, check that out. So, we're going to set this to automatic. I'm going to set this to express to local northbound. And then next. So we're going to add another one. We're going to do OSI. Nope, OSI to southbound. This is the southbound mainline track, and then the second one we're going to flip. So it's going to take us onto track 4, which is the southbound local track. So this is going to be express to local southbound. It's automatic, and then automatic. I don't know. If there's more specific like questions you have on that, because I could harp on that all day. It's just something that I'd want to put thought into. And if you really want to look at like, okay, what makes a good route, in my opinion, you're gonna want to go back and look at all the episodes of Under Construction up to this point, like what I have done, you know, and think about why I've done those things. And if you have specific questions on why I've done those things, feel free to ask them. Just ask them in the most recent episodes so that I can read them out loud. And so that I can, you know, respond to them immediately, because I like doing that better. I like being able to talk about that, and you know, I can even fly over to the area of the route if it's in a video, because you know, that's why I'm saying, ask me then. If it's in a video, I can fly over to that area of the route and point out like, okay, this is why I did this thing, and this is why it's important, and this is why it's good. You know, I can make those assertions and give those explanations and whatever. And I can even, you know, I'll probably find some reason that it's like, well, you know, this could have been better because this is northbound. I'm sure that I will have plenty of commentary on that. OSI. Let's see, I want 4 southbound. Local to express southbound. This automatic, and then there we go. The other things I want to do with this is I want to make the other paths really, really long. What is TC? Oh, track circuit block. That's interesting. Okay, so this is cool. This is what I'm going to have to use for wrong way running. which is going to be, I can have clear on drive. So clear on drive would mean as the train goes along and clears blocks, I can send in trains behind it. If this was really long, like I'm gonna do an example one so I can talk about what I mean. Clear on cancel is all I need right now. So these are all the really important ones for maneuvering around the interlocking, except for this stuff. So let me do this. So we have the express to locals. We have that. Now we need the OSI yard lead. That's your entry signal. If we're coming in this way, we obviously don't want to go on these two tracks. We want to go on these two. In fact, we probably want to go onto the local track because we're gonna be slow. So we need to go to the right. We need to go to the right. Boom. Now there we have a snake all the way across. I'm gonna set this to automatic. Yard to local. Southbound. Yes. And so there's that. And I'm also going to give the option for, because I'm eventually going to do all of the options, like every single possible combination. That's what I want to do at least. So the other thing is we're going to go to the left, we're going to go to the left. Boom, there we go. Now we're going out to the express track. Yard to express southbound. And so we want to set this to automatic. Now whatever, we're good. Next thing I want to do, though, is if there's some reason that a train is having to take the wrong way. And usually the idea is going to be to try and avoid that with gonna try to avoid that. We're gonna try to make sure trains don't go down the wrong side. However, it might happen. It may happen. So the other, the next possible option is that we are going to go and we are going to make a new tower path. We're going to add one. Add one. Let's say you're coming out of the yard. Actually, let's say you are an express train. OSI. And you're going to be on to southbound. So you're coming in here, you just came past the station, you're coming in here. And what we want to do is say that in order to make sure that we never have trains that run into one another, or that run into a signal bridge and they're nose to nose and they can't go by each other. In order to make sure that never happens, what we're going to do, we're going to make the assignment automatic as usual. And we're going to call this express to express northbound. And you will notice that there may be names that are the same. So what we're going to try to do to indicate that it's the wrong way, we're going to call it NBR. So NBR, R for wrong road. So that would be NBW for NB wrong, but NB wrong road. Or I could do NBX. And then, you don't want to do this usually. I don't know. I'm thinking of how to do this because, part of the option is that we have, if I did this as a express to local northbound, it would be the same as something that we already have. So let me actually design it as such. Yeah, so we can't rename it when something already exists with this name. The solution to this is, instead of doing it like this, where we just have this to that, we actually have express northbound to local northbound, express southbound to local southbound. You know, that sort of thing. And, you know, that might be doable. We just have to change the other interlocking towers. And I think that's fine. But the thing I want to get at here is, if I'm making one like this, where it's OSI to southbound, I know I'm running over time here. I'm going to run it onto the wrong main. Oh, nope. Make that right. There we go. The thing I want to do is I want to extend the path, and I actually want to extend it all the way to the next interlocking. The thing is, I would have to name all the crap first. So, continue extending this. There are like 5 things in between. See, this is the signal bridge. And so now we're heading over the top, because this is after we've, you know, and this is where I would want to end the thing. And so that means that as long as, you know, or well, I might actually want to end it here. Yeah. So, no, I would definitely want to. Yeah, I would definitely want to extend it up to here, because then you're still on this thing, and it's not going to route stuff into here, because this track is already, you know, it's already taken. This is going to be set to stop, or that one is. Well, I am actually not sure that this would work. Huh. But the idea is to make sure and prevent trains from coming in this way, from, you know, wherever. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. I will have to look at that. I will have to look into that. The solution might be to, in the end, to extend things one block out from, you know, the end of the thing, but that will take retrofitting the other interlockings. But in order to make stuff work right, we're going to have to play with it a lot, but we can't play with it a lot until the AI is fixed. So, until then, we're going to be, you know, flying in the dark. We're only going to be playing with the things that we know work. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Train Man out.